Good morning, you guys. So this morning I got a little bit more. Let me show you guys real quick. I got a little more stuff out of the garden. Not a whole lot, but I'm going to go ahead and put it up because, you know, waste not, want not, right? So I did have um, a person from Australia. Hi, I don't know your name because I don't think it said. But she did tell me that's where she's from, and she has some questions about our garden. So I thought, you know, maybe while I'm working on this, I could maybe answer. I did answer her question the best I could. You know, when you're typing and everything on the phone, it's a little harder to do. So I thought, you know, this might be a good time. Raised beds. Why do we do raised beds? Well, I'm going to be 60 in November. Rusty is 62. He's just recovered from major cancer, stage 4 throat cancer. And for us, the raised beds, it has nothing to do with weather. It was asked if it was from critters, and really critters, not too much of a problem in Oklahoma. I mean, they will get out there and dig. The biggest problem I have right now around my raised beds, if my chickens get out, they like to scratch around it, but that doesn't hurt anything because they're in raised beds. But so critters really not a big problem around here, although we have gophers really bad. Let me get my stuff out the microwave. So this is, I'm making let me show you guys this. This is just a package of bread and butter. That's what I have left. I would have done dill, but that's what I have left. I've already used all my dill seasonings. But because my garden doesn't produce a whole lot of cucumbers at a time, I just take the package, I weigh it out because it comes in a big 5.5 ounce package. I weigh it out and I do the math to do my vinegar and my sugar. So it's still the same. I just don't use the whole package. And sometimes if I have this left over, I'll throw it in my refrigerator and then I'll save it for the next time. But I will be hot water bathing the bread and butter pickles, and I will be adding an onion to that, maybe more than that, but that's probably enough for what little bit of cucumbers I have. So anyways, and this time I'm going to put it in a quart jar. That's the jars that I have the most of right now, that I use the least. And pickles will last forever in your refrigerator, so putting them in a quart jar won't be a big deal for us. So I was heating that up. I normally heat that up on the stove and everything to dissolve the sugar, but I'm using my stove this morning. Oh, let me show you guys what else I'm doing. I am also dehydrating fresh sage out of, oops, it fogged my camera, sorry about that. I'm also dehydrating out of the garden because it's almost Thanksgiving. This is, I don't even know what today is, it's right in the middle of October. So 1 month, and so before that freezes and is no good, I'm dehydrating them in my oven. I will put them in one of those little bitty electric blender things. And because I've already done it before, so I know it works really well. And I will blend that up and make a powder, a sage powder. I already have enough for myself for Thanksgiving because I did some a couple of months ago when it first started coming in. And I went ahead and I cut everything off my plant today because it is getting cold and I don't want the plant to go bad. So I cut that off, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to offer it to a few people around here that will be making homemade dressing that would like some fresh sage. So that's what I'm doing with that today too. So I have 3 different projects. I'm doing the bread and butter pickles. I've got a few peppers that I was able to get out of the garden, so I'm going to freeze those, cut those up and freeze them. I have a couple of more squash, so I will be cutting those up and freezing those. And the sage, and then I've got to peel my tomatoes, and I'll be freezing those. But back to my story, the raised garden beds. You guys, if you can't get up and down off the ground as easy, and I'm not saying that Rusty and I can't get up and off the ground, we can, but it is getting harder and harder. I have a problem with my hips because I was in a motorcycle wreck several years back, and it's just causing a lot of arthritis in my hips. So getting up and down for me is really hard. And Rusty does it better than I do, even though he's had cancer. But so that's the reason we do our raised beds. Okay, guys. So I got interrupted. I had to go down and do an estimate and send it off for Josh real quick. So I'm going to try to remember where I was. So the reason for the raised beds is just because we just don't want to get on the ground anymore. Our beds, we don't have a lot right now. We're trying to add a little bit at a time. And so we'll eventually have maybe a little bigger garden. But again, we still don't want it so much that him and I can't handle it. And because, you know, we have to water it every day, especially during the heat of the summer. And these are my fall squash crop right here. My fall crop is giving me a little bit right now. It's like I said, it's mid-October, so the garden's going to start freezing pretty soon, I'm sure, because we have maybe 2 more weeks before winter. You guys, I've never grown garlic before. I know it grows wild all over the place. I planted some garlic in one of the beds, filled it full, because it says to put it in the fall about a week before your first freeze, and I'm assuming our first freeze is going to be in the next week or two. So I went ahead and got it in the dirt, and I put hay on top of it. I didn't water it because it's supposed to like sit in the ground, and then in spring it'll come up. But we're supposed to get a lot of rain here later this week, so it's going to get some water then, but it'll be fine until then. The dirt wasn't that dry. So I'm stirring my bread and butter, getting the sugar dissolved. So yeah, that's the deal with that. We also had someone asking about Rusty's treatments and stuff, and we did cover that in a lot of videos a couple of years ago. But I'll just touch base with that. Rusty was diagnosed with stage 4 throat cancer. It was his larynx, I guess. Anyways, his voice box and that kind of stuff. So he still sounds a little gruff now, but he's lucky to even have a voice, according to the doctors. They told us we had chased this cancer for 5 months. We knew it was cancer. At first he was treated we thought it was strep throat. It wasn't. After that, it didn't go away. We knew it was probably cancer then, but he had a biopsy, and this quack doctor said that there was no cancer. He was a quack. But finally we found a specialist who said, nope, it's cancer, definitely. And it's not only cancer, but if we'd have caught it 4 months ago, it would not be stage 4. But unfortunately it was. So they aggressively hit Rusty within 2 days. He was doing chemo, and he had to go get fitted for a special mask, so he didn't get to start radiation for about 2 weeks because they have to fit him and then make it. And he did 35 radiations, and he did 8 chemos, and that's aggressive treatment. But today Rusty's in remission, so we're very thankful. He also ended up with the trach during the way, and he ended up with 2 different feeding tubes. The first one we had in, they thought he was doing better, and then he ended up going downhill really bad when he had to get the trach in. So they had to put another feeding tube so that I could keep him fed until he could eat himself. But like I said, he's in remission, and it left his voice kind of gruff a little bit, but it's not too bad. Everyone that knows him says he sounds quite a bit like he did before. So he did have to have those. Had the aggressive treatment not worked, they said the next thing would be removing his voice box, and he'd never speak again, because they would rather do that and save his life than to let him die with the voice box. So that was the next. So we were I don't think you can always be 100% prepared for that, but we knew that might be an option later. Rusty, they go by remission by when you finished your last treatment, and he finished his last treatment in August, and so it was 2 years ago, this past August. So Rusty is now 2 years in remission. His oncologist and his throat doctor both said that because he's 2 years in remission, that he's way more than halfway to the point that it shouldn't come back. That doesn't mean it won't, but it shouldn't. Over halfway. And when we hit the 5-year mark, he has really no more chance of getting cancer in the throat than you or I do. So, let me throw these for the chickens. I guess I'll bring my chicken bucket over here. So, so we're real thankful about all that. I got one more pepper right here. So, yeah, we're very, very thankful that he's doing as well as he's doing. And we really so much appreciate everyone who's been praying for him and keeping him in their thoughts and prayers. You know, it's by the grace of God that he is in remission, and we all know that. Medical is so good, and our doctors and what our scientists and everything is so good that they have these remarkable ways of treating things like that, you know, 10 years ago might have killed him if he'd have got it 10 years ago. I don't know. But, you know, so, but we all know that, you know, God leads us in those directions. And so this is part of his healing too. And let me think. I was asked about the ducks. My broody duck, they were brooding. They were laying outside in a nest, and then at night we made them go in so they couldn't lay on their nest. So we knew those eggs were not going to hatch. That and the fact that those ducks really weren't old enough. We've just recently seen the males getting on the females to breed them. So now they should be fertilized. But back when they were brooding before, I don't really believe that they were fertilized. So we weren't too concerned anyways about that. But we didn't have the heart to take their eggs away from them because they were trying so hard, sitting on those eggs all day long and during the day. And then at night, of course, you know, we put them up because we did have one duck that we missed putting up one night, and we don't know where she is. She's gone. I'm sure the raccoon probably came and got her. Possum, something came and got her. So we don't have her anymore. So we refuse to leave our ducks out at night. We always count them every night, make sure they're all back in the pen. And these Anaheim peppers are a little bit spicy. I can smell them. I'm cutting peppers right now to put in the freezer. I just use a cheap little food saver that I have, that I bought off of Amazon. It's not even a real brand, but you know what? It works really good, so I'm okay with that. These peppers, I enjoy them all winter long because I make a lot of chili in the winter, so I'll put a few of these peppers. They're not hot because we don't do hot, but they are very flavorful. So anyways, but now we put them some hay, and Rusty built them these really, really cute nesting boxes. I'll have him go take a picture, and I'll include a picture so y'all can see their nesting boxes. And we just, you know what we did? We we put some hay in them, but most of the hay we just threw in a pile in front of the nesting boxes because ducks love to build a nest. They want to build their own nest. They don't want you to build it for them. So we did that hay, and by the next morning, they had built the cutest little nest, and now they're laying in that nest. And for 2 days, 2 or 3 straight days, I had one mama duck sitting on it. And this morning when I went out there to do the chores, I had a different mama duck sitting on it. But they'll do that. They'll kind of help each other. They're all laying in the same nest box. There's 4 boxes out there. But they're all laying in the same nest box. So they're just going to help each other out. Cut this bag down because I just have this small amount. If I can get it on the screen. Peppers right there I'm going to put in here. That's probably enough because I only do a pound of meat when I do chili for me and Rusty because we don't eat a lot. So I cut this. These are just little, I think, pint-sized bags. So I'll just put these in here. I'll vacuum seal it and throw it in the freezer. So we may, you know, I know they take around 30 days. They don't sit as consistently as I would think they need to sit. But I've never had, I mean, I can't say never had because we actually used to have a big pond at our other house. And the ducks were hatching babies all the time. But I've never, like, sat and watched them do it and seen how long they actually stay on the nest and stuff. So, we're hoping maybe they'll have some babies, and then we have to make the decision, do we let them keep the babies because the chickens might be mean to them and kill them, or do we take them out and put them in the brooder pen? So we'll make that decision if we have to. So, but I just wanted to make a quick video, show you guys what we're doing. And today I'm just trying to get my garden. But while I was doing my garden stuff, I thought, you know, I should tell everybody why we do the raised beds. It's completely, there's nothing wrong. We've done plenty of gardens in the ground. It's just at our age and our health is pretty good actually, but at our age, we just don't want to get on the ground. We don't want to have to pull the grass out. We very, very rarely, I'll pull maybe 1 or 2 spritz of grass or weeds out of our beds a week. I mean, and I go out there every single day, 7 days a week. So we're not getting hardly any weeds. So it's a very easy kind of garden to grow. And if you're in our situation, I strongly don't give up gardening. Just get you some raised beds and you can still enjoy gardening. Like I said, we don't get a lot of stuff. I have 2 plants of these that I put in for the fall. My peppers, I put in 8 different pepper plants, but they were different varieties. This one is a yellow orange kind. That's the smaller ones. I've saved a lot of seeds, so I'll be able to start them all next year. And we have 1 cucumber plant, so, you know, we're not getting a bad amount of stuff off. And I just about once or twice a week, I spend a few minutes and get everything put away so we don't waste anything. And some of it we use then, but most of it I put away. And then this winter, we're going to have fried squash because I have plenty of it in the freezer now. So you should give it a try. Okay, guys. I don't think there's any other updates. I'm trying to think if there's any other questions that maybe I could answer better. But I think I've answered the questions that we had. The chickens are doing great. We are getting right now between 36 eggs a day to 47 was, I think, our most. But we usually, generally, we're getting, to be honest, we're getting between 40 and 44 a day. My last count, I think I have right around 49 or 50 hens. So really that's not bad at all, considering that a bunch of mine are not daily layers. In fact, the only ones I would call daily layers are my Rhode Island Reds, and I just have 10 of those. So we're still getting a fair amount, and we just did a fall festival, so we're still selling eggs. We get a lot of eggs. So now that all the festivals are over with for the year, we're going to be taking them down to our local park and setting up a table down there and try to sell some once or twice a week. So that's our plan, to get rid of the eggs. I keep thinking they might slow down, but mine have not slowed down yet. So not that I want them to, but generally they will for winter. So alright, guys, thank you so much for watching today, and I hope we've cleared some questions up. I think that's all we have. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps us out. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, which doesn't seem like very many, but it's slow going, but we're getting there. And we'll catch you next time on Sweet Hollow Farm Life. Have a great day, and God bless. Bye-bye.